Okay.
Are we
What are you doing?
What are you doing?
Why are you stopping it?
Has he stopped it? Or is it still
No,
going?
it's going. It's still recording.
I mean, this is getting off to a terrific start, isn't it?
It's our wonderful producer, yet again, creating shenanigans, chaos, intrigue. He's dropped all his stuff on the floor. He's just had a tantrum in the background and thrown a load of stuff on the floor.
Oh my God. Welcome to Cloud Realities Live. We're at Microsoft Ignite 2025, back in the Moscone Center in San Francisco. I'm Dave Chapman.
I'm Esmee and Rob.
And I'm Rob Cromwell.
We are back in San Francisco.
We are.
Now, Esmee.
Yeah.
Do you know how I can tell we're in San Francisco?
Oh God. What's different in Rob's face?
It is when I ask Rob, hey Rob, is that a very famous San Francisco landmark?
Oh, go away.
And he says,
Big on.
Where is it? Although this time, so that was the first one in Alcatraz, I think you found it was.
Yes.
Do you realise you did another one of them this week?
Did I?
Where he goes, look, there's the bridge.
Oh, no.
He says, pointing at the Bay Bridge, not the...
All right. I'm not that good at San Francisco landmarks. Okay, I'll admit it. I'm out. I think...
Two and done?
You need to take pity on me. I just, need help.
Well, we think we all know that.
Yes.
But anyway, you successfully identified the Bay Bridge.
I did.
And I think since we've been recording in San Fran, I think you've also visited the actual Alcatraz. Is that correct?
I have actually been. I went to the island, did the tour. It's actually pretty good. I really liked it. Nice atmosphere, theming, walk around the island, off you go.
Smaller than you think, isn't it?
It is a lot smaller than you think. The irony of it. Yeah.
The irony of it.
I tell you what, you go on the tour, hour and a half. It's about right.
Doesn't need much more.
Doesn't need much. No. It's so small, you see.
Thoroughly
Dave.
covered in an hour and a half. Esmee, how are you doing?
I'm doing very well. Yes. Happy to be here. I'm like a Microsoftie at heart, although I use a lot of Apple, as we all know.
Yeah,
we've discussed that on the show. Mm-hmm. But I grew up as a CRM consultant, Dynamic CRM. So Microsoft
we won't hold it against you.
No, but it's like
so this feels like home.
It feels like home. Yeah, a lot of people that I know are also here in the community, and I'm very curious also what they're going to announce and what we're going to hear.
Well, we have some of that.
Let's see. Let's just see what the pre-bump said on Ignite this year. So basically, I'm quoting here: Ignite 2025 is all going to be about AI at scale, cloud modernization, and secure innovation, with a strong focus on enabling organizations to become AI-first enterprises through practice, tools, governance, and industry-specific strategies.
Yes.
That play out in the keynote?
Yeah, but there's quite a bit more to it, though. I think there's three things that are quite cool. There's the Frontier Firm.
Now, Frontier Firm.
That is essentially organizations that embed AI natively and deeply from everywhere. So from the data center right to the front of the operations. And they unlock the productivity, the efficacy, the efficiency, and all that stuff. So it is basically an AI-first organization.
Why are they using the term Frontier Firm?
I think the frontier is being at literally the forefront of implementation of the technology.
Like Tron.
Like Tron.
Yeah,
it's like we're actually building Tron.
A digital frontier.
Tron. The second one was AI everywhere. So it's native in the operating system, native in apps and devices. It's not just a thing you add in, but it is at the core of everything.
Right.
So we've got that going on. And as we've said before, agents everywhere as far as the eye can see.
Now, have they just announced that as sort of a blanket strategy, and then they're going to announce other things during the week, or have they actually got underneath that a little bit?
They have got underneath that a little bit with the idea of Agent 365, where it's like the how you get control of your agents across your organization. So they're doing on the last theme is about the responsible implementation of AI,
right.
And that they're giving all the tooling to the enterprise to be able to do it easily and effectively and responsibly. So you have this sort of integration of control that's coming over the top of these agents that are absolutely everywhere, and they're improving right across the board. And there's lots of capability increases, like things like Sora 2 going into the video models for 365 Copilot, and then there's a whole load of core updates in 365 Dynamics. There's a huge set of announcements around security as well. things like model router, which will automatically select the right model for it to use against your application, etc. So it's basically facilitation of agentic implementation.
And it's a say that again.
Yeah, wow, that's a one-liner.
I mean, that was a lot of words. I mean, that was good
Precise,
stuff, Rob.
man.
Go ahead.
Facilitation of agentic implementation. That's what it is.
But it's not very sexy, to be honest.
It doesn't have to be, though.
He's very much what it says on the Tin Man.
And then there's loads of... I'm going to ignore that. And I'm going to move on. There's loads of IQ stuff going in, work IQ, fabric IQ, Foundry, about capturing behaviors, habits, and work context. So one of the big things to make agentic work is you have to understand the context of the situation you're in.
Yep.
Then you apply the capability. So agents solve like for classer problems, but it only works if you know the context you're operating in, etc.
So it's all very... It feels like we're... Maybe this is the obvious comment, but I'll say it anyway. It's never stopped me in the past. We're continuing the scaling journey here,
yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
And I think one of the conversations we had on one of the previous live events, we talked about the sort of the accelerating rate of the innovation of the technology, but a lag between that and organizational pickup. Coming into this week, what's your gut feel on the lag position, do you think?
It's still... If you speak to the analysts... They'll basically say there's still a long way to go for companies to get this right. But if you're not doing it now, you're not learning, you're not changing your internal culture, you're not starting to embrace it. So you may well be left behind if you're waiting.
Yeah.
What we're seeing here is a load of sophistication kicking in to allow you to be able to get this right.
Right.
So we know the capability's there. Now we're seeing all the tooling come to bear around it. So a rise in maturity, and that's that facilitation point. I know you didn't think it was that sexy, but it is actually, I think, exactly what this is, which is facilitating the enterprise to get it right.
I mean, did that make it sound sexier to you, Esmee?
No, but maybe we have a different version of sexy.
Not everything in life has to be shiny and spangly.
Oh.
Well, what it reminds me of is, do you remember when consumer devices, and I guess the cloud to a certain extent, became very, very prevalent, and there was that switchover moment between suddenly your employer wasn't giving you the best computer in your life, you were buying the best computer in your life, and all of a sudden maybe enterprise supplied technology was lagging the consumer market.
The iPhone 2007.
Exactly right.
Big shift.
Yeah. All at the same time as the cloud started to launch, and there was a shift in the expectations of consumers and what they expect from your workplace technology, and there was a big conversation at that point about how some of the consumer technology wasn't ready for the enterprise. Yeah, feels the same, right?
Yeah. I think there's a lot of freedom you get with things you can do in AI, but the whole responsibility point has to kick in. It's the AI bloopers we've often talked about, which is the done rashly, you may end up with a bit of egg on your face.
Bit of egg. It wasn't egg all over him yesterday, was it?
Oh, no, Dave, no.
Sorry, really?
It's meat juice.
And it was actually on his pants and his shirts.
Right.
And
that's right. It was quite
he covered it all.
It was quite the picture, wasn't it?
It wasn't my finest hour in a restaurant.
Meat juice all over his trousers.
And also the surprising face, like, what happened?
I know.
I still don't know what happened. There was just a splashing and disaster.
Well, look, so on that note, we're going to cover a number of things this week. We're going to cover some insight into the creation of product themselves, how we're experiencing it as users and humans, frankly. We'll dip into a couple of specific industries and talk about that innovation lag. And then to Rob's point around things like trust and security and responsibility and the facilitation of implementation? Facilitation
of agentic implementation.
What that means from a point of view of trust and reliability and responsibility, which does seem to be an emerging big theme of the conference, even though we're on day one. So, to that end, let's get going with our first guest. And I am delighted to say that joining us on today's show to talk about Ignite and everything that's surrounding it is Rob Cromwell. Rob is the CVP of Copilot Engineering at Microsoft AI. So, Rob, lovely to see you today. How are you?
I'm doing very well. Thank you so much for having me on the show today.
No, you're going to explain the special technical setup here, David, at this point.
We have got a unique...
Because you were quite stressed earlier, but you got it sorted.
So Rob, unfortunately, can't make it to the actual show itself, but has been good enough to still spare us half an hour of his busy agenda. So he is joining us remotely, and it is a first. We've done this, Rob. We've never done this before, so we are all a little bit on pins.
I sincerely appreciate you guys making an exception for me to be here today. I would love to be in person. I'm very much an in-person person.
Yeah.
So it pains me to see you through a little window on my screen, but unfortunately, that's what we've got to do today.
I would say experiencing Dave through a little window on your screen is probably preferable than meeting him in person. I'm brutally honest. Sorry about that, Dave, but the truth must out at some point.
Fair enough. I can't argue with that, Rob.
It's a lot in person, huh? Okay.
Yeah, it's quite the personality, especially behind the scenes, but we won't go there. Marcel has to do a lot of work to keep him under wraps, but yeah.
That's right. But yeah, anyway, let's hope it holds together. The CVP of Copilot Engineering, and given Copilot's presence in the industry right now, and the fact that it is a very prominent, if not the most prominent, Copilot style technology. Give us an insight into that journey, Rob, over the course of the last couple of years. It must have been one hell of a curve that you've been on.
Yeah, absolutely, and one that I'm incredibly grateful for to being a part of both this company and working on this product. I feel very lucky. And to be honest, kind of fell backward into it. I was working at a tiny startup called Inflection with Mustafa Suleiman, and we were working on a product called Pi, which is a personal intelligence. And it was an AI assistant, and we were doing everything from training foundation models on our own H100 cluster all the way to putting apps in the App Store with, I think we were about 60 people.
Right.
So I joined as head of engineering and held that role very proudly for all of 4 months before being absorbed into Microsoft, or as some of my friends say, be raptured into Microsoft. So it was a bit of a crazy start. That was 18 months ago.
Right.
And so I've been in seat working on Copilot for about 18 months.
And from your very specific vantage point, what's the sort of the major points of innovation, do you think, in terms of turning Copilot's iterations out over that period?
Well, it has been an interesting journey. I usually describe it in 3 chapters. I think when we first arrived, what we were really focused on was getting the foundations of the product right. And to be a competitive consumer product these days in the space, you've got to be lightning quick. Performance has got to be there. You've got to be accurate, and really be building a delightful experience. I mean, the bar is very high for consumer products. So we really spent the first about 6 months of our time here rebuilding the Copilot product, the entire stack. And we shipped it in October of last year. So that's kind of chapter 1.
Right.
I'd say chapter 2 is really all about catching up with the competition. I think at that point, OpenAI had ChatGPT in market.
Right.
Obviously, Google had Gemini. So we had spent the next about 6 months really catching up. And I think now we're in a much more fun chapter 3, which is starting to really differentiate the product and building something specific to consumers.
And if we just focus a little bit on that product build and some of the philosophy that's going into the product. Obviously, there is a lot of talk in the world of AI at the moment about displacement and the kind of impact that it might have, but both positive and negative, of course. What's your philosophy going into it when you're building a product that is as disruptive as something like Copilot?
Yeah, I think it's I think the thing that's good is that we've from the beginning we've had a very strong point of view on wanting to build a humanist AI that I'd say is really been the focus of our team and our product building. What does that mean? It means always putting our users front and center and really thinking about how we're making their lives better. We were trying to build an AI companion, not a productivity tool.
Right.
And
Right.
really the distinction, you feel it when you use the product. It's everything from the interface to the voices that you interact with, the personality of the model. We try to make all of those feel very familiar and feel more like a true human interface than a tool. I think also, the way we're thinking about what is Copilot's alignment? What is it trying to do? It's always in your corner. I think we use that phrase a lot. Like Copilot's always in your corner, and Copilot is always aligned with your interests. So, when you're out shopping for a car, Copilot is looking out for you and knows about you, knows about your family needs, knows about your maybe financial situation, and can help be a companion to you and guide you through that decision without any agenda beyond helping you get a great vehicle for your family. So
I can imagine that user feedback is like crucial because it's also new, right? Your companion might be different than my companion. So how do you incorporate user feedback in developing Copilot and agents?
Absolutely critical in this new world of building AI products. Having a data flywheel of feedback is really the lifeblood of the system. And we all often talk about how product development is moving from shaping pixels to shaping tokens. So specifically when you're using the Copilot product, there's very explicit signals that you can send, like thumbs down or thumbs up. We look at those very, very, very closely. But we also are analyzing all conversations to understand you picked up the product, you were trying to achieve something, were you successful in trying to achieve that thing? And really analyzing and holding ourselves accountable to making that experience better and better and better. And that is like the flywheel that makes the product great.
And to get that to work, is obviously you need a lot of context around how you're operating. How have you found building that context more effectively? So rather than have to load it and then get effectiveness, it's almost good day one when you approach it. That must have been a bit of a journey as well from an engineering perspective.
Yeah, definitely. There's two. I think of it in two ways. I think there's like journeys that everybody tries to use with the product, and generally making sure that those are amazing. And then there's more personalized experiences. On the former, really it's leveraging that data flywheel and finding out, categorizing what's working well, what's not working well. Like perhaps we're struggling with being able to iterate on image generation or file understanding, or perhaps people could be struggling with getting their homework done. Those are all real things that we had to hill climb on and measure. And so, once we make those investments and improve the model, really the product will be better for everybody going forward. Then there's personalization, which I think is a big theme and something we're very focused on in product building right now, which is going from Copilot to, Rob's Copilot. And that is a very big, important leap that, Copilot knows everything about Rob, knows Rob's family, knows Rob's interests, and then can,
God
can
help
tailor.
it. God help it, eh, Rob?
No, if it's this Rob, maybe that Rob.
Yeah, no, I was thinking about you as Rob.
I think if they learned my context, it'd explode.
I don't think you'd be able to release it.
I should say we're also working on an incognito mode.
Okay.
You can tick that off your list of wants.
Whatever you want to explore. Yeah.
That is like Rob on the way over in the plane. He was like, David, I've got my list of wants, and it had one thing on it. It was like Copilot Incognito.
And there it is. It's coming.
Actually, on a serious note, as you were talking about the models there and the sort of, again, some of the philosophy going into your product build, there is an emerging conversation, I think, in the industry about whether it's like all built on one platform or people are using, say, the best model for the best experience. Just expand on your thinking a bit on that, Rob. Like, where are you standing on that philosophically, and how does that impact your product dev around something like Copilot?
Yeah, great question. I mean, I think it also kind of gets back to my prior point about really being, humanist in our product building. Ultimately, we want to use whatever models are going to get the best experience for our users. Full stop. And obviously, we've got some great partnerships with frontier labs like OAI and as announced at Ignite, Anthropic. And we also have a state-of-the-art lab here doing frontier foundation model building at Microsoft AI.
Right.
And the reality is we use models from all three of those labs to build the Copilot experience. I think one thing that's interesting is that we've seen is how quickly the open source community is moving in terms of model development, despite not having access to the amazing, amount of compute that we have or that these other labs have. So I think the success in building great products in this era is going to be a mix of curating and selecting models, but also just good old fashioned product building. I think if you can bring both of those together, you got a winning combination.
Was there an announcement about model routing that came out, I think, where you could select the best model at the point of execution, so you can almost hot swap them in to get the best results, almost like a brokering of models as there to say which one is most appropriate for this request and then fire it in and get the best result out. I mean, that's quite cool, that sort of dynamic selection be quite exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's interesting because this is like a cyclical trend. What I've seen just, in the short time that I've been doing this is you'll get these moments where there'll be great convergence and there'll be a step function in model capabilities. Yeah. And you'll see that like one model can have a wide range of uses. And then what you'll see is slowly additional models will start to creep up and stand alongside that model, and maybe you will use those other models for specific STEM purposes or doing something like deep research or perhaps more like a support or safety case. But then the labs will do their best to recombine that all into a single monolithic model, and there'll be a step function again in capabilities. Right, so I've seen that cycle, 2 or 3 times now, just over the past couple of years. But from an engineering perspective, the model routing functionality is an important step in that journey as we improve these models and experiment.
Rob, what in the past year, maybe 2 years, really surprised you from a profession point of view? Like, is there anything that's blown you off your feet, or?
Yeah, lots. Yeah. I'm always, I'm regularly getting surprised by how amazing this technology is. And, I think for those of us that were early adopters, early on in this LLM era, caught some of that magic, and then I keep experiencing it every couple months. I think like a couple examples that just come to mind. Maybe one more productivity oriented, and one more you could say like support oriented. I was debugging. I was working on voice on the voice feature, and was having these really odd networking things that were going wrong. And I just like started dumping the packets into Copilot, and I couldn't believe that I was able to actually decipher them and tell me what was wrong.
Oh, wow.
I had a header that was incorrect in one of the networking packets. So just like amazing how much time that saved me, like deciphering effectively, binary over the wire, and just telling me, oh, you forgot to set this flag, dummy. It was amazing.
That needle in a haystack search used to be something that was incredible, especially like you're in an instant or something had gone wrong, trying to decipher what was there, and then suddenly we have this tool that you just go, set the flag, come on, get on with it.
Yeah, amazing.
I wonder if we could just maybe stick with the adoption side of the equation as well, and obviously on something like Copilot, you're at the heart of sort of consumer adoption versus business and enterprise adoption. And some of the language in the keynote this morning really reminded me of that point in the industry that maybe happened about 15 years ago. It was around the time of iPhone 4. It was when clouds, the varying different large-scale clouds that we know today were just releasing. And there was that pivot point between, I used to get my best compute kit from my employer. Now all of a sudden I'm getting my best compute kit from, kind of insert your favorite vendor here. And it's a super cool smartphone and, a beautiful looking laptop and all of those sorts of things. I wonder if you see any similar kind of analogy between business and enterprise and consumer adoption of AI tools like Copilot.
Absolutely, and I think that trend that you're mentioning, we also saw in browsers. For the record.
Good shout. Yeah, good shout. Yeah, exactly right.
And I mean, I think that if you're like me, that you might have two browsers on your desktop, or at least have two profiles, like your home profile and your profile.
Rob absolutely that technique. Rob, funny you mentioned that.
Oh my, yeah. But I think reality is at work you're maybe building reports or doing analysis. At home, maybe you're doing your taxes or your homework, or want to decipher some test results from the doctor. Those applications are actually pretty similar when it comes down to these core products. So I think part of the reason why Microsoft is investing so heavily on the consumer front is really there is this belief that these worlds are blending, and it's important that our users have a sense of how to use these products both in an office context and at home to get stuff done or to get support.
And one of the major positionings I've seen Copilot just in my day job, it really helping, is the scaling of AI in businesses and organizations. It's almost like the tip of the spear for enterprise AI adoption, I think. Is that kind of how you would frame it, as part of a scaling framework, or do you have a different position on that?
Yeah, I think we're still pretty early on. Satya may have recently said we're in middle innings or something.
Indeed, he did.
To that effect.
Yeah.
I mean, he's probably got a much better read on this than me, honestly. But I just, in terms of the maturity that I see out there, to me, it feels like the Wild West. Like there's very little standardization. Yeah. I think, at least in the technology stacks, where it's still very much forming, and like these nascent efforts like MCP, A to A, and so forth. They really are just the first rev of trying to provide some standardization, and there's uptake, but we've got a long way to go from the engineering side.
And in that Wild West context, actually, I think one of the other big themes that's certainly bubbling to the top immediately this week is notions of things like trust and reliability in the world of AI that we're going into. And as you say, it's a very fast-moving first or second iteration version of the sort of technologies. What do you think we should be mindful of as the early ethical debate starts to mature, perhaps?
Yeah. I mean, I feel a tremendous amount of responsibility to be delivering both like products that people love, but are also safe. And, I think it's been interesting. We kind of just blew through the Turing test. And no one really batted an eye. I mean, this is like truly a transformational technology and a transformational interface.
You raise an amazing point on that Turing test thing, because blew through it is absolutely, completely correct, right? Like we are so far past that at this point, and people are still going, I'm not sure it's that good yet. But like, well, I think one of the highest bars that's been set for like 40 years is now long in the rear view mirror.
Which is, I mean, as a computer scientist, it's extremely exciting. And but I'm also so close. I can see all of the rough edges and problems with it, and know that ultimately at the end of the day, it is a product built by people. But I think as this tech gets adopted by more and more people, it may not be as obvious to some people where the line is in terms of the tech. So I feel a lot of responsibility, both in terms of like how we're keeping users safe, but also keeping their data and privacy safe in this new world of products.
So, Rob, thank you so much for joining us today, albeit remotely. It's been a real joy to talk to you and get insights from inside the world that you're living in.
What I'm most impressed with, Dave, is you solved quite a complicated technology problem before I got into the building.
Robert,
I was quite surprised.
Don't tell anybody.
I was quite surprised.
I try and keep my ability on the lowdown, because then I end up doing it the whole time.
I think, did you have like a helper, or was it?
I did it myself, Rob.
You did it yourself. I'm very proud. We need to give you some form of certification off the back of that. I don't know what it is.
Keep it on the lowdown. I'd rather you didn't mention it.
But we are not talking about what happened in the car when he tried to log on. So let's just balance the things out here.
So David couldn't get onto corporate IT this morning, so he shows his phone to me like he often does, and it's just a login prompt, as in, what's your identity? A very simple process. Just tell me who you are and we'll get some biometrics and we'll give you access to data.
Yep.
Didn't go very well for you, did it, Dave? 3-4 times, he's ranting in the car, he's shouting, he wants to throw his phone out the window. And then I say, just show me your phone, type in the words, hit enter, wait a second, and it just goes nicely through, authenticates, and then there was all this access. But the noise and the wrangling and what was going on.
We don't need to waste Rob's time.
All it was a login credential, that was it. No.
I actually resent the fact that I've got this cobbled together shortened version of my name as a login thing, as if it was like 1997. It's like, why isn't it just my email address like every single other thing in the world at the moment? We're not going to solve that today.
You were on a rant for a good 10 minutes.
We're not going to solve that today.
So it's a bit yin and yang with the old technology, David, today, isn't it?
It is a bit. Anyway, Rob, thanks again for your time. Now, we're going to ask each guest this week to give us a view of the fictional world of computing versus the reality of the world that we live in something like Ignite. So have you got any favourite, either best or worst examples of how our industry gets represented in film?
Yeah. Well, I can tell you that I draw a great deal of inspiration, and I should preface this. There's the personality of the AI, and then there's the interface of the AI.
Right.
I want to separate those two things, because you'll see why in a moment. But I draw a ton of inspiration from the movie Her. And
very nice.
The reason is because the interface is so fluid. I just loved how the main character could walk around and share his experience, or come home and just have a live voice conversation. That to me is absolutely the future that we're heading toward. We're not building an AI girlfriend. There's no plans to do that. So that's
product
what I want
announcement
to draw
bombshell.
You have just shattered the number 2 on Rob's wish list for this week at Ignite, Rob. Never mind, you get over it, don't worry.
Hope Mrs. K isn't listening.
You know what's really fascinating, actually? Because I've got Her in my top 3 as well.
Have you?
Yeah, but because, why is it that robots or tech is being designed or showed as woman, like feminine? gentle and connect. The first avatars, they're all Ava, and they're usually they're women.
This is true. Often has a female persona, don't they? Yeah.
Well, mostly it's because it's designed by men.
No.
So what if tech was actually first designed by women, like robots? If we let them design by women, how would tech?
What would be your avatar's name then? What would you? You're in reverse.
I'm so used to having also like that masculine design perspective into tech. So I'm like, it's obviously fascinating.
This is a very good point, though, and it is very true as well. You raise
So do you think, Rob, that we'll see the emergence of maybe not anthropomorphized companions, but the sort of device set that's going to get us into the sort of experience that you see in her? And if you were to, I know this is, kind of a terrible question to ask, but like, what time period is on that for you? Is that an 18-month window?
Everybody loves a tech prediction. Yes. Come on, we'll hold you to it as well.
Great, on the record. I think it's inevitable that that this is a moment where we evolve in terms of hardware and primary device and our HCI with that device. Absolutely. I don't know where it's going to come from. I don't know the timeline, but it seems inevitable. And I think once we can get to that experience, it really is going to be magical in a completely different way. I mean, these laptops and phones are going to feel very archaic at that point.
Yeah, clunky. Well, look, thank you so much again for joining us today. Great choice on movie as well. Spike Jonze, a personal favorite of mine. Yeah. Really good conversation also, and I hope next time we get to see each other in person.
Likewise, I commit to being there in person next time, and thanks for accommodating me.
That was good fun, actually. Actually worked really well, so well done, Dave.
Our pleasure.
For what it's worth, it felt like this isn't the first time you've done it, so.
We'll take that as an enormous compliment. We don't get compliments that often, so write that one down.
Yeah.
So if you want to dive deeper in today's topics and what they mean for you and your business, drop us a line at cloudrealities@capgemini.com. We're all on Substack and LinkedIn. Connect, DM, and send us your questions for future episodes. And hey, don't forget to rate and review and subscribe to our show, because it really helps us improve it, although we're on a really good start, as we just heard. A big thanks to Rob, our sound and editing wizards Ben and Louis, our producer Marcel, and of course to you for tuning in. See you in another Microsoft Reality soon.